Hello everyone, and we're back with another video calling out New York One. They just seem to not care about any important local news, especially in the precious borough of Queens. It seems they're not even paying attention that the crime in Astoria is just getting out of hand again. Astoria's had a bunch of issues this year that the media just seems to ignore because of this pandemic. I mean, one example. Anybody remember when I gave that story about the dead man found in his house in Astoria right at the beginning of the pandemic? Does that make anyone suspicious? No. So I keep reading all the time. This is going on in Astoria. That's going on in Astoria. So that's why we're titling this video Astoria, the next forgotten neighborhood in Queens, because we're going to get into a lot about Astoria as we go along here, because I'm just disgusted that the media can't figure out that there is a bunch of news going on in Astoria. And I'm sorry if I put my mouse for a second, but the annoying thing came over there. So let's take a look at New York One's page. And yes, I'm glad we got stimulus, and I'll get into that as well in this video. We have news regarding the $900 second coronavirus stimulus package. The Senate just now has approved it. 91 yay, 7 nay. President Trump will be signing the bill as soon as he gets it on his desk. But I had to do this video because PinePower just did a video about Long Island again. And, I'm going to be commenting about Long Island in his video. Believe me, because I'm just sick and tired of this discrimination. Alright, so awful story in Brooklyn. Fire truck collides with car and barrels into a Brooklyn storefront. I mean, I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on Queens. Alright, here we go. See, public safety. Let's take a look at public safety. So let's see if anything's mentioned about Queens, because they talk about this in Brooklyn, but they're not going to talk about an accident that happened in Rosedale. Look at this. Nothing. And then they want to eliminate solitary confinement? That is a terrible idea. Why would you eliminate solitary confinement? I don't get it. I really don't. That's a whole nother video we'll get into another time. I don't even want to bring that up. I mean, the idiocracy of New York. Why are they thinking about eliminating solitary confinement? Alright, so let me read this. See, nothing. Nothing about Astoria. Are you kidding me? New York One, it's just, I don't know what's worse, News 12 Long Island or New York One. New York One, it's just become a complete joke. So, guess where we have to go get our news from? The Courier, the Chronicle, and the Eagle. Because, I found out something shocking from the Daily News, and the Eagle did a good job covering it as well. So we'll get into what the Eagle, covered regarding the Queens GOP, because there's a lot we're going to get into, but I want to focus on Astoria. So let me see if I can, we'll get to that later on. We're going to talk about Astoria, because the issues in Astoria have got to be brought up. I'm going to close the tabs as we go along here. Alright, so here's our first story in Astoria. Cops search for suspect behind package theft in Astoria. So where is this happening? Let's find out. The New York Police Department is looking for a man who stole several packages from a residential building in Astoria last month. On Sunday, November 22nd at around 2 a.m., an unidentified man walked through the front door of 44-15 34th Avenue. So as we go along here, we're just going to look up these addresses, because I might know where this is. Why are all these incidents happening near Steinway Street lately? Andy Q, I'll just mention him. Andy from NYC had brought up the area around Steinway Street was declining. Well, this is the example of people in Astoria not paying attention to what's going on here, because this is a complete travesty. Alright, so the unidentified man on Sunday, November 22nd at 2 a.m. Walked through a front door of 44-15 34th Avenue. He then stole 6 packages belonging to the building's residents, totaling around $140 in value. The man fled on foot in an unknown direction. No injuries were reported as a result of the burglary. Police described the suspect as 6 feet tall, last seen wearing a black hoodie, blue jeans, blue vest, and a white hat and a black mask. Do we have a picture of the suspect? Okay, good. So I'll just give the number for Crime Stoppers, 1-800-577-TIPS, 8477. In Spanish, that is 888-577-7478. You also have Crime Stoppers website, nypdcrimestoppers.com, or on Twitter at nypdtips. So for the rest of the stories, I'm not going to get the information out. But here we go. Here we go. How do you let your guard down and let this person into your apartment when he looks suspicious? You know, and that's another thing that happened in Jamaica Estates with the florist incident. Well, I'll get into that because, again, I want to strictly start off with Astoria. Because, you know, I'm just disgusted that our local media is not covering Astoria. So look at this. Motorcycle theft in Astoria. Motorcycle got robbed in Astoria. Alright, police are looking for a man who stole a motorcycle in Astoria last month. On Friday, November 27th at 5 a.m., an unidentified man stole a 2015 Honda motorcycle parked in front of 24-23 28th Avenue, according to the NYPD. The 44-year-old man who owned the bike discovered it was missing later that day around noon and reported the incident to the police, cops said. The authorities described the suspect as a man being between 20 and 30 years old. No arrests have been made and the investigation is ongoing. So, let's take a look and see where this is in Astoria. Because if you pull up a map, I can easily look up anything in Astoria. Ooh. Not too far from Astoria Park. Yikes. Yep, that's the Ditmars line, because I see Ditmars Boulevard right there. Because I know this area very well. A few blocks east of 31st, you've got Martha's over there. I'll close that out. Go to our next story in Astoria. So, this is here's an awful story. Tractor-trailer truck driver runs over traffic cop in Astoria. Now, see, this should have been a bigger deal than those other 2 stories. Here we go. An off-duty NYPD traffic agent was sent to the hospital Tuesday morning after being run over by a tractor-trailer driver in Astoria. On Tuesday, December 15th, around 10:30 a.m., the officer, whose identity has yet to be revealed, was on the street in front of 25-15 Broadway when they were hit by the driver of a tractor-trailer truck, according to the NYPD. The officer, who was pinned and rescued from underneath the truck, was transported to a nearby hospital, cops said. The officer was conscious and was not seriously injured, according to a police spokesperson. The driver of the truck remained at the scene of the collision. So, thankfully, the good news is the driver did stay on the scene. So, that's the good news, that the traffic cop was not seriously injured. So, just a sad incident. I mean, hopefully the officer's going to be okay. I believe if I look up this address sounds pretty familiar to me. Let me look it up. 25-15. No, in Astoria. Yeah, see, that's the problem. Yep, I know exactly where this is. Broadway, right by 21st Street. Yep, so I sadly know where this is. Oh my goodness, and the media didn't even cover this. Are you kidding me? This is right by the Bel Air Diner. I'm sorry, folks, but, you know, I have a close connection to Astoria because that's where my dad's mechanic is, on 21st Street. So, that's why I'm just being upset with all these stories happening in Astoria, and the media's just not covering it. And then, not to mention, again, I knew that address sounded familiar, because I was saying to myself, 25-15, isn't that 4 blocks east of 21st? And I'm like, yes, I know exactly where that is. Oh, speaking of which, another story in Astoria. Ah, look at that. Duo steals over $10,000 worth of vape and tobacco product from Astoria smoke shop. Police are searching for two men who stole $10,000 worth of vape and tobacco products from an Astoria smoke shop last month. On Thursday, November 26th, around 3:30 a.m., two unidentified men broke the front window of Cloud Beast located at 22-05 35th Street. Once inside the shop, the duo began to take tobacco as well as vaping and electronic products valued around $10,200. The man then ran off in an unknown direction. No injuries was reported at the burglary. Okay, so I'll zoom out because I don't know why this is zoomed in. Okay, here we go. Police describe one of the men standing as 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighing around 170 pounds. He was last seen wearing a dark-colored bubble jacket and a dark-colored hooded sweater. The second man was last seen wearing a dark-colored jacket and a light-colored hooded sweater. No arrests had been made. Investigations ongoing. Alright, so this is our last story in Astoria. Let's see what we got here. Yep, right by Dipmars. Alright, so, let's get into other stories. So, a couple of these were made a big deal because PinePower was leading off with fire stories in his video. I was on the phone with my ex about a half hour ago. It's almost 11 o'clock now. And I told her, you know, why didn't anybody from New York City cover it? And it kind of baffled her. But, you know, look, I understand PinePower's doing his thing in Nassau County, but again, folks, Queens is my home. I mean, I'm upset that some of these stories don't even get covered here in Queens, let alone what's going on in Long Island. So, let's get into this one. Alright, so this happened last week. It happened on the 13th. Oh, what day did this happen? Let me look at my calendar. Oh, okay, the 15th it happened. Okay. Alright, so it happened on the 15th. There was a fire at a 2.5-story brick house in Bayside Tuesday morning. Firefighters responded to the fire at 220-04 43rd Avenue on Thursday, December 15th around 10:35 a.m., according to the FDNY. First arriving units were met with heavy and black-gray smoke venting from the first floor of the home. In total, 106 FDNY personnel arrived to the scene. Heavy cluster on the first and second floor of the building hampered the first responders as they tried to get water hoses throughout the house. The blaze, which eventually reached the attic and roof, was put under control a little after noon on Tuesday, according to the fire department. Two firefighters were... Hang on. This is the... Who typed this? Oh, this is horrible writing. Were received minor injuries? How do you put the word were in the same sentence? See what I mean? The Queen's Courier sometimes just doesn't even proofread their articles. Alright, but they refused transportation to the hospital. And the marshal's office is investigating this, so... let's take a look and see where this house was. 220-04 43rd Avenue. I might know where this is. Oh! Not too far from Oakland Lake. Yep. And this is right by the 111 precinct. Alright, so let's read this one. 3 killed and 3 alarm file inside of a house in Elmhurst over the weekend. So let's read this. A 3-alarm fire ripped through a home in Elmhurst early Sunday morning, killing 3 people, according to the authorities. Emergency personnel responded to a call regarding a fire inside of 90-31 48th Avenue just after 5:30 a.m. on December 19th. Responders encountered heavy smoke on the first and second floor as well as the attic of the third-floor home. 3-story home, excuse me. One firefighter fell through the first floor and into the basement and was quickly removed from the scene. So, yeah, sadly, this is what happened. And thankfully, Channel 4 did cover this, because I was watching Channel 4 over the weekend. Units were withdrawn from the building and fought the fire from the exterior with several tower ladders and hose lines. More than 150 firefighters were on the scene. The fire was reported under control just before 8 a.m. Saturday morning. So, last sad thing we need to read here was that FDNY personnel discovered 2 unidentified individuals unconscious and unresponsive inside the home, according to the authorities. EMS arrived and pronounced the 2 individuals dead at the scene. A 3rd individual was found unconscious and unresponsive and was pronounced dead at the scene. And by the way, folks, I do apologize for the drag racing. You know, I really wish the 107 would do patrols on Christmas, but that's a whole different story. Yep, I hear them. The NYC Fire Marshal will determine the cause of the fire, and the investigation is ongoing. So, yeah, a lot of pictures came out of this. Wow. So they do have a lot of pictures where the address was listed. So let's look up the address. Ah, okay. Yeah, so this is not too far from Grand Avenue, Newtown. Okay. And I think I saw somewhere, let's Google this, Elmhurst fire. I don't know, I was Googling this story before. I think it mentioned, the building might have been, yeah, here it is, Gothamist. Yeah, see, Gothamist mentioned that this building was, illegally converted. So let's see where they mention this. So, illegal apartments. Okay, let's see. Ah, okay. Who's Richardson? Let me just see. This article is completely fast. Thomas Richardson. Okay, he confirmed this news. Alright, so I'll zoom in so you can see, what it is, because it's tiny print, so I do apologize. Okay, so I will highlight this part right here. So here's my mouse so you can see what I'm highlighting here. Richardson said that they believe 8 people lived in the building and fire officials are still looking for 2 residents. The 2 residents may have not been home during the fire, but they were continuing their searches to see if they could locate the other folks that were in the building. Wow, look at this. The extent of the damage to the building was so severe, the roof collapsed into the top floor and another part of the second floor collapsed in the illegally converted building. Wow. Oh, so Channel 2 covered this. Okay. Ooh, okay, here we go. Neighbors have said the building was occupied by homeless people. Ah, so vagrants took over the building. Lovely. The building was under a partial vacate order back in February of 2018. So, almost 3 years ago, because remember, we're almost in 2021. This building almost 3 years ago had a partial vacate order because the basement was rented without a permit. The Department of Buildings website showed a long list of other complaints, including one from January of 2020 that reported 60 people already living at that particular location, as well as a complaint in May of 2020 that construction... Hang on, was this 2020 or 2018? I can't even figure this out. Oh, construction was underway on a roof without a permit. Another complaint in August of that year, in 2018, said the entirety of this house, including the garage, had been illegally converted into several rooms for rent. Look at this. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Look at this. Some of this even goes back to October of 2019. Ugh. Alright, so we're going to move on now. Alright, so here's a sad story. I don't know if anybody from New York, other New York City outlets cover this, but I'll read this. Man dies after crashing car during medical episode in Rosedale. A 64-year-old man is dead after he crashed his car while experiencing a medical episode in Rosedale earlier this month. Wayne Newland was driving westbound on Rockaway Boulevard last Monday, December 14th at 4:20 p.m. when he began to suffer from a medical episode, according to the NYPD. Newland, who lived in Springfield Gardens, lost control of the car and hit a fence, cops said. Upon collision, Newland was ejected from the car. Police officers from the 105 precinct arrived to find that Newland with trauma to his body. EMS personnel rushed him to Jamaica Hospital, where he was pronounced dead several days later on December 17th. So, I mean, nothing you can do. You know, even if you take him to a hospital like Long Island Jewish, I mean, what can you do? I mean, the accident was that severe. So this accident may have happened by Rosedale, Rockaway Boulevard, and Brookville Boulevard. I might know where this is. Let me Google it. Rockaway Boulevard. Because this sounds familiar. Let's see. I might be able to pull this up. Oh, no. Oh, no. I might know where this is. Ah. Sadly, I know where this is. Yep. Right by the Five Towns. Awful. Just awful. I knew this sounded familiar to me. Alright, so we had anti-Semitic graffiti from fenced in Forest Hills. I do apologize for the disturbing thing you just saw there briefly. So here we go. The NYPD removed vulgar anti-Semitic graffiti spray painted onto a Forest Hills homeowner's fence. Was removed on Wednesday, December 16th. So, nobody from the other media outlets covered this. Wow. Okay, it happened by the Grand Central Service Road at 68th Drive. So, a comment made a degrading comment performing a sex act on Jewish woman. So, let's see where this happened. This sounds familiar to me. Okay, you pull it up, Grand Central Parkway, 68th Drive. Let's see what comes up. I know where this is, sadly. Oh, are you kidding me? This happened right by Fairview? Oh. How disturbing is this? You know, imagine if you're working at Fairview. And by the way, I know Fairview very well. It's a nursing home in Forest Hills. Oh my goodness. How could this happen near Fairview? And not too far from LIJ Forest Hills and not too far from the high school. See, this is supposed to be a nice area. You have Willow Lake over there. You have Parquet Flushing. This is supposed to be a nice area by Jewel Avenue. And you know why this probably happened? Because the Hasidics live by Jewel Avenue, so of course they got targeted. Why aren't I surprised about this? Alright, so a couple more before we move on to a couple coronavirus news stories, because there is some good news right now. It sounds like before midnight, the Senate's going to pass the stimulus, and then hopefully tomorrow President Trump should sign a stimulus. But I'll get into that in a second. Drunk motorist fatally strikes driver in South Ozone Park fender bender. Fender bender in South Ozone Park turned fatal after an allegedly drunk driver came barreling into the scene of a small accident on the Belt Parkway earlier this week. On Wednesday, December 9th at around 12:45 a.m., Tahir Ali Hassan, 63, was driving westbound on the Belt Parkway near 131st Street when he drove into the back of a car driven by a 28-year-old man, according to the NYPD. The 28-year-old pulled his car over to the left lane while Hassan stopped his car in the middle lane, cops said. Both men got out of their cars to inspect the damage when Jason Bakal, 34, drove into Hassan's car, striking Hassan as well, according to the police. This is awful. So, you know, I'll just make a brief comment before we move on. I mean, this is bad. Ugh. And sadly, Hassan was taken to Jamaica Hospital with trauma to his head. He was pronounced dead 2 weeks ago on the 10th. So 2 of the drivers remain at the scene of the crash. Pakal was taken into custody after police suspected he had been driving drunk. So, I'll just mention that before the pandemic, every time we've had to go to my mom's friend's house in Mill Basin in Brooklyn, or whenever we've had to go to Staten Island recently, I've noticed there's a lot more aggressive driving on the Belt Parkway lately. I mean, my goodness. I mean, I normally would expect aggressive driving on the Cross Bronx or the Bruckner because, you know, we've dealt with it over the years. But the Belt Parkway? How much aggressive driving has been on the Belt Parkway lately? I don't get that. So let's get into Cambria Heights. Oh, I forgot to mention this crime not being reported in Jamaica either. I forgot to bring that up. I'll get into that before we wrap everything up. Random attacker in Cambria Heights punches out 86-year-old woman, breaks her hip. Cops are looking for the assailant behind a recent despicable attack in Cambria Heights in which she's punched and seriously injured an 86-year-old woman. The victim suffered a broken hip after being sucker-punched by the suspect and knocked to the concrete sidewalk in front of 22901 Linden Boulevard in Cambria Heights at 10:30 a.m. on November 11th. Law enforcement sources said the assault appeared to be a random attack. No words or interactions occurred before the perpetrator threw her fist at the victim. After knocking down the octogenarian, authorities noted, the suspect fled westbound along Linden Boulevard. So, incident was reported to the 105 precinct. The victim was taken to Long Island Jewish Valley Stream for a fractured left hip. So they do have a video of a suspect wanted. A black woman between 50 and 60 years of age at 5 feet 8 inches tall. Alright, so I'll play the video and I'll read the description. So, she was last seen wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt with a green logo on the front, black pants, black gloves, and multicolored sneakers. Yeah, there they are right there. While carrying an orange bucket on her left arm. Alright, so I'll take a look at this address. Let's see what we got here. Sadly, I know where this is. Right off the Cross Island. Alright, so let's go to Jamaica now. Because there's a lot going on in Jamaica. Especially what happened in Jamaica Estates. So as I was teasing earlier, 2 other stories in Jamaica we're going to get into before we get into the home burglary. Because I don't know what... I mean, Jamaica is always Jamaica. I mean, you can't really do anything about Jamaica because, again, it's Jamaica. Alright, so here's the first story in Jamaica. Cops seek man who shot woman in jest in Jamaica. The NYPD is looking for a man who shot a woman in the jest outside of the Queens County Family Court building in Jamaica earlier this month. Yep, I know exactly where this is. I'll pull it up. 8914 Parsons. If I'm correct, this isn't too far from Archer. Yep, I got called it. Not too far from Archer. It's right by the F train, come to think of it. Yeah. Here we go. A 56-year-old woman was outside of the court building when an unidentified man fired a gun, striking the woman in the chest. EMS personnel arrived at the scene and rushed the woman to Jamaica Hospital in stable condition. The shooter ran off in an unknown direction. The man was eating nearby at the Dallas Barbecue restaurant. Whoa. Wait a minute. This happened on the 13th, right? Right, because indoor dining ended last Monday. Okay, yeah, I forgot. So he was eating at the Dallas Barbecue restaurant nearby to the courthouse. So they do have surveillance video. Let's... Oh, okay, they don't have a video, but they have a picture of him. Because I'm thinking, yeah, this happened the 13th. Okay, yeah, because the 14th, that's when indoor dining was supposed to shut down. Right. So let's take a look at this one now. Gunpoint robbery in Jamaica. My goodness. 146-15 Jamaica Avenue this happened. So let's look where this was. Ah! Not too far from the Long Island Railroad. This happened in October, and it's first being reported now. My goodness. On Tuesday, October 27th, around 12:40 a.m., a 49-year-old man was walking in front of 146-15 Jamaica Avenue when he was approached by an unidentified man who was attempted to rip off the 49-year-old's necklace. The 49-year-old fought back briefly before the man pulled out a gun and pointed it at the victim. The victim then took off his jewelry and tossed it into the street, according to the police. The assailant picked up the jewelry and fled southbound on 146th Street. Police said the suspect was last seen wearing a black mask over his face, blue gloves, and all black clothing. No arrests have been made. Investigations ongoing. So, supposedly they got this guy on video as this was happening. Yep. This is bail reform at work, folks. Keep that in mind. And then lastly, in terms of news from Jamaica, we have a home invasion robbery that happened on Friday. So let's read this. So this is just so stupid. You know, how could you let your guard down? First of all, let's look up this street. Hayden Street, yeah. Yeah, I know exactly where this is. Not too far from where I am. Seriously, how could you let your guard down on this one? So, 3 suspects who posed as flower delivery men assaulted a woman, broke into her Jamaica Estates home, and stole $20,000 worth of loot. So this happened on December 18th. An unidentified man rang the doorbell of a home on Hayden Street. Just before 1 p.m., he was a flower delivery man. When the woman opened the door, the man pushed her down to the ground and struck her in the face with an unknown object. A second man then exited a white van outside the house, as a third man exited a black sedan, police said. The trio entered the home and gathered approximately $20,000 worth of jewelry and clothing before fleeing in an unknown direction. So, here's some good news. EMS later arrived at the scene, and then the victim was taken to Long Island Jewish Medical in New Hyde Park, where she was in stable condition with injuries to her face and ear, police said. Authorities describe all 3 suspects as men with dark complexions between the ages of 20 and 25, wearing all black clothing that stood between 5 feet 4 inches and 5 feet 7 inches. So there is surveillance video of what happened. They show one of the suspects approaching the house with flowers in hand. The victim goes on to show the other 2 suspects approaching the home. So they have another picture of the suspect, but he's in a face mask. So, I mean, how could you let your guard down? That's all I'm saying. You know, I'm just beyond shocked. Yep, and look, a third vehicle gets involved. My goodness. Alright, so let's get into CoronaMorons. That's what I'm going to call them, because we have 2 incidents of CoronaMorons here in Queens. So, there was one involving the Queens GOP in another incident involving a almost 200-person party that happened in Rosedale. So let's read this one. So, Queen's Council candidate leaked maskless conga line at Republican Club holiday party. And guess who this is, folks? Vicky Palladino. She's running for Congress in the 19th District, trying to take on Paul Malone. So, look at this. This is just so stupid. You know, that's why you're called a CoronaMoron. Here we go. Here we go. A conservative Queen's Council candidate and members of her local Republican club ditched their masks when they hit the dance floor at an indoor house party back on Wednesday, December 9th. Council District candidate Vicky Palladino and members of the Whitestone Republican Club held a party inside El Baco, a Little Neck restaurant whose owner sued Governor Andrew Cuomo to restart indoor dining back in the fall. So get this, there's a video of this on Twitter. Wow. A video shared on Twitter shows Palladino dancing in and around a 13-person conga line led by former Republican Assembly candidate James Matoski, seen carrying a Trump 2020 flag. I'm not holding that, Palladino appears to say when Matoski attempts to hand her the blue banner. Roughly 50 people can be seen dancing or watching from tables along the perimeter of the floor. One attendee can be seen wearing a mask in the video. So, here's a video. I'm going to play it anyway. Do apologize. You know what? I'm not monetized anymore at the moment, so I could care less. Oh my goodness. That's why you're called CoronaMorons. And this is why I'm glad I have not left my house since October. My goodness. Yep. I mean, how stupid can you be? I mean, look at all these people not wearing a mask. And by the way, folks, this woman's actually held events outdoors in large crowds when she was campaigning for Curtis Lewa. So, Andrew Yang, if you're watching this, we need you to run in 2021 because our city's going to be let out of hand if somebody like Eric Adams gets elected, or even worse, Curtis Lewa. And yes, folks, I think Andrew Yang is a very good person. Oh, my God. I can't watch any more of this. Alright, so here's what it says. Palladino did not respond to requests for comment. District 19 is represented by term-limited council member Paul Malone. Ugh. I mean, I don't even know why you come into the place wearing a face mask and then just take it off. I mean, I would have never taken my mask off. I just would have left. Just being honest, I would have been so mad. It's just ridiculous. And sorry for mask shaming, but the law is the law. You need to wear your freaking mask. I'm telling you, folks, it's people like her that may reenact the stay-at-home order. It's bad enough we don't even have indoor dining. This is possibly one of the reasons why we don't have indoor dining in the 5 boroughs right now. And take a look at these other CoronaMorons. So thankfully, Channel 4 did cover this. New York City Sheriff's Office busts Rosedale Club for hosting maskless romp. New York City Sheriff's deputies busted a makeshift Rosedale Club that was hosting a party with more than 160 people in attendance, leading to the arrest of 4 men on Sunday, December 20th. The party at the event center at 145-12-243rd Street met its demise when deputies spotted multiple group of people walking in the location to a rear alley on MTA Road. Deputies attempted to enter the venue, which had its main entry blocked by a metal roll-down gate at 2:30 a.m., only to find two unlicensed security guards blocking the door. Once inside, officers saw more than 160 maxless people dancing, drinking alcohol, and smoking hookah. So, they were arrested. Not surprised. So, yep. It's only a matter of time before Cuomo decides to be a tyrant again and just shuts everything down. It's only a matter of time. You know? I mean, I understand the vaccines here. I get that. But I'll just mention this. The earliest was people like me that are supposed to get the vaccine, April. These people are so impatient. They don't want to follow the rules now. I mean, if you want to have a party like this, wait until at least the summer or fall next year. Not now. How stupid can you be? How stupid can you be? Alright, let's get into some decent positive news from the MTA, and then I'll wrap up this video. If you have not heard, the feds reached an agreement. Currently, right now, before midnight, again, the Senate should approve the new COVID relief package, and then President Trump signing into law tomorrow. Pat Foy did release a statement, and he did bring this up today during the fare and toll hike meeting. Pat Foy said, and I quote, "We are relieved and thankful to see Congress pass another coronavirus relief bill that will include $4 billion in federal relief for the MTA. The crucial funding will allow us to get through fiscal year 2021 without devastating service cuts and layoffs of 9,000 colleagues. To be clear, we are still facing an $8 billion deficit in the years ahead, but this is a promising first step that will help protect the local, state, and national economies in the short term. We hope any future bills will fully offset the impact of the pandemic, as there can be no recovery without a strong public transit system serving as the engine for progress. Thank you to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and the entire bipartisan New York congressional delegation, led by Chair Neela Lowey, for delivering this great result for the MTA's customers and employees and for their hard work and continued support." So, the good news is, from what I've heard, this is at least going to prevent any bus and subway cuts next year, which, I mean, the last thing I couldn't even imagine, because again, I'm supposed to be back on the system sometime next year. So, you know, that would have been the nail in the coffin for me moving to Delaware, but, you know, it sounds like I may get one more year in New York, but only time will tell depending on what the federal government does. Alright, so AOC made some comments about this. So, here we go. Not enough to go around. So, AOC bought this in a town hall. She had mentioned that we need more, and we're going to need more in the direct flow to the state, and frankly to the states, so that the current status of negotiation of the COVID bill. But yeah, this is not enough. Listen, I'm in complete agreement with AOC. You know, I'm in agreement with Andrew Cuomo, and I'm in agreement with Bill de Blasio. I mean, this is not enough. You know, the MTA is going to be able to get through this year, but Bob Ferrand said the MTA needs at least 4 years of federal funding till at least 2025. So, they got to prioritize this. The new Biden administration needs to prioritize this in the first 100 days. Now, we're going to get checks of $600 to $700, but, you know, that's one thing. Alright, so let's get into some positive news. MTA has announced plans to dedicate Flatbush Avenue and Brooklyn College Station in memory of train operator Garrett Gobble. Alright, so, if you didn't hear, there was some good news over the weekend that they did finally arrest the suspect in the murder of Garrett Gobble. If you don't remember, there was an intentionally set fire on a subway near Central Park back in March. And, they're going to, put artwork honoring Garrett Gobble at his home station in Brooklyn. So this happened on March 27th, of course. So they're going to, of course, put this artwork to honor him, which is very good news. And of course, Utano was going to speak. Why aren't I surprised about this? You know, I don't even want to get into that. Because you know how Passengers United feels about Local 100. I'm not going to get into that again. We've been very vocal supporters of the new Local 100, which is Progressive Action. So, good news regarding ADA accessibility. There will be new elevators at the 2 and 3 station at Eastern Parkway. So, Victor Calisi had a press conference about it a couple days ago. And, you know, again, I'm very happy with Victor Calisi. You know, he said something very positive about this. I'm very pleased to see the MTA's continued commitment to accessibility. We get another station unveiling, the second in Brooklyn, in a week. I will mention, they have a press release about Greenpoint Avenue. Let's see, because the week prior, they, that's not it, no. Where are the press releases? Yeah, here we go. Let's see if we can find this. Oh, more project news. Okay. Let's see. Yes, okay, here we go. So the good news is the MTA put accessibility projects at 8 stations throughout the 5 boroughs. But here's the problem. Where is... Here we go. Here's the problem. Where's 7th Avenue and West 53rd? You gotta be kidding me. You know, they just don't care about Midtown. They just don't. We're supposed to have an elevator there. Or at least the good news is Greenpoint Avenue is accessible. So it's the first station in the G line that will be accessible. And thank goodness, because the G's never had an elevator before. So I will be making my way to the station for a second time around in 2021, hopefully. So, once again, New York won. Shame on you. And, you know I'm going to keep being vocal about these stories that the media just refuses to cover. So, again, check out PinePowerLI's video. There's more news. You know I'm going to keep covering it. So, thank you for watching. And until the next one, please take care.